Good morning everyone, my name is Tomislav Golubovic and today we're going to have a look at the second chapter of our YouTube playlist here of creating a Plant3D project. So what you can see on the screen now is in general everything that's in our Plant Design Suite Ultimate. So we've got our P&IDs, our piping, our structure, our Inventor, our 3ds Max, our Navisworks, Revit, and how everything interacts with one another. So you can see that with the structure, we can export it to Revit and export it back out as AutoCAD. And we've got some interoperability there between Inventor and the equipment. But what we're going to have a look at today, mainly to kick off, is how we create the plant project. So we're just going to scrub everything off that screen there and create a plant project. So here I've got my Plant3D 2016 open. You can see it's at the front getting started page there, and we're just going to create a new project. So I give it a name, which will essentially be the directory name that you use to create the project, and then I give it a description. I always encourage people to do a description. It just helps for future with what the project is going to be if someone calls it up. We can tick here whether we want to create the project in Vault or whether we want to copy settings for an existing project also, but for this exercise, we're not going to need any of that there at all. So then we go to next. And then we're going to do either an imperial or a metric project. Obviously, this is going to be metric because we're in Australia, and we can do mixed metric there also. I'm going to use the pip P&ID symbology standard. There's a couple others there that you can see. You can nominate where the directories are going to be for each of the different options and whether it's going to be SQLite or SQL Server. If it's a Vault project, it'll automatically default to be a SQL Server project. You can't do SQLite on a Vault project. So once we're done there, we can just click on the Edit Settings button if you want to continue editing the settings for that project. Otherwise, I'll click on Finish, and you can see there that it's created all of the directories that I need to within Windows Explorer. So it's going away and creating those. You can see them being done on the fly there. So those three directories that you see there are hard-coded. Then I'm going to go into the properties. Now what that essentially does is opens up another DWG file in the background, and you get presented with a new dialog box showing all of the different Plant3D options here. So you can see the project name is in there and the project description has been filled out. So I'm just going to give this a project number. That can be, again, anything. You don't have to do that as well. We've got a couple of directories there for the report templates and the related files. So with the project data, I'm going to fill out the different fields in there. So you can add your own in there obviously as well. So I can do different categories and different properties of those different categories. So I live in Perth. So I'm just going to put in Perth and Western Australia as the city and the state, the postcode. Obviously that's not my real number there. And then I can put in there Homer Simpson as the project manager. The client information you can populate. Again, these are all just out of the box ones as well. You can choose not to modify or edit these as well. So that's the general project details populated there. With the database setup, it just tells us what the database setup is. We've got the different drawing properties, the reports we can look at just quickly, briefly. Obviously, this doesn't have any drawings in it yet. And the file name format is something we can do to help the users create a particular file name for that project as well. So I'm doing area and discipline. So area has 2, is a length of 2, discipline is a length of 3, and you can see the delimiter is a hyphen there. So when we create a new file, we can go through and adjust that. Under my P&ID options, I've got different end settings, different line settings, so I can break or put a loop in the line. I can nominate what the manual gap symbol is going to be and what the grips and the offsets are. Any of the paths for the directories for the structure, and then the class definitions. The class definitions will be very important for P&IDs. This is where you will modify the look and the feel of the P&ID symbology. If I go to edit symbol, then I can go through and adjust the colors and the layers. And then if I click on edit block, it takes me to the actual AutoCAD block editor. And this is where we do our attachment points, our start and end points. And then I can even go through and modify maybe the arrowheads or the style of the valve there as well. So that applies to all of the symbols within the P&ID as well. If we open up the Plant3D drawing settings, we've got different options again for the paths for the 3D settings, the layer and the color settings. So by default, it's a line number for the layer and the color is nominal diameter, but you've got the different options there as well. If you want to, you can go to by layer. Piping connection settings is an important one. You'll go through here and adjust what flange connections are going to do, what welder connections are going to do, what slip-on. You can nominate, whether it needs a bolts and or gaskets, or what kind of connection in there. The object mapping is where you'll map the 2D to the 3D. So this is where we're going to map the check valve properties will become the Plant3D properties. So if you've filled out the manufacturer field on the P&ID side, you'll get the manufacturer field on the 3D side. The class definitions inside the Plant3D portion are just more related to some of the properties in there. We'll look at catalog and spec building later for the objects. And as well, we've got spec update settings there. So if a spec gets updated, then we can update the options. This is the isometric drawing settings. So again, different options under here for what the isometrics are going to look like. Whether we got makeup lengths for field fit welds, whether we need to split a sheet across different sheets, any of the advanced settings, so we can go through and put in offsets for the X, Y, Z. The annotation options, the dimension options, the themes, they're all contained in here as well. So this is again an easier way for you to go through and dictate what your isometrics are going to look like. So as we scroll through, there's even an option there for looking at a live preview of your isometrics as well. So editing the title block, very easy. You go through to the title block editor. The green is the draw area, red is no draw area, and blue is where the tables are. We've got obviously all the different table options, layer options, annotation options. You can obviously go through and put your own title blocks within that as well. So going back to our options, and lastly, we've got like I said before, that ISO preview. So it pulls up a sample PCF file within our project, and it's going to generate a preview. So with I guess pieces of software, if you wanted to preview it, you'd have to jump out of the configuration and preview the ISO. Otherwise, in here we can. And this is the ortho settings. So this is where we can set up our 2D orthographic view, so we can dictate what layer it is and colors and whether we want bill of materials for our orthos as well. So once we've gone through all of the options, then this is where we can start doing some of our drawings for our P&IDs. And this is something that we're going to cover in the following chapters. So again, this has just been a quick walkthrough of creating a P&ID project and its properties. And there's my contact details there if you need to get in touch with me. Thank you.